Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Pranam, Prabhu.
Same here, Prabhu.
So are you able to hear me clearly, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. So let's begin with the Pranam Mantras. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurum-militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Sa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Nirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nimastitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Charitate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, thank you once again for joining. So we'll continue our discussion on Canto, summarizing the Canto 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll start with Chapter 5 in details. So before beginning our session, let's repeat this mantra or recite this mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So far, very quickly going through the Canto 1. Canto 1 has 19 chapters, and Canto 1 begins with the questions by the sages of Namisharanya. So this way I am actually indicating this is the first set of questions by the sages of Namisharanya. To whom? This is the Suta Goswami, and here is Shaunaka Rishi. So Shaunaka Rishi and the sages, they were performing yajna for almost 1,000 years. And this is for because they were able to see what is going to happen in the age of Kali Yuga. People are going to suffer a lot. So for their protection or for their well-being, they were performing yajna for almost 1,000 years. At that time, Suta Goswami comes there to the assembly of the sages. And the sages knew that Suta Goswami was present where there was a discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Katha between Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami. So therefore they asked this question. They're asking very pertinent questions. And these questions were so important. This is a summary of the questions. What is the ultimate good for the humanity? This is the first question they asked. And what is the essence of all scriptures? So, right in the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Suta Goswami answers this question by saying that devotional service is the ultimate good. There is nothing better than that. Bhakti unto Vasudeva Bhagavati. So that is the essence of all scriptures as well as it's the ultimate good for all entire humanity. Then the third set of questions they were asking was, please describe about Krishna's appearance and why does he come? And then also describe about the Purusha avatars, Leela avatars. And after Krishna left this material world, where should people take shelter? So these are very important questions. And to the question third, fourth, and fifth, they answered that the Lord's appearance happens multiple times. He takes multiple avatars. So there are 6 categories of avatars. So they describe all this. At the end, that they say that of all the avatars they have described, Vyasdev is saying that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original personality of God. Whatever avatar I have described, however, from among all of them, they are either plenary portions or the portions of the plenary portion of Lord Krishna. However, Krishna's Bhagavan Swayam. So this is the Paribhasa Sutra, or the most important verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. And then this sixth question was, where should one take shelter? Uh, After Krishna, because when Krishna left, the Dharma along with Krishna also left. So where should people now take shelter? So the answer was that one should take shelter in the instructions given by the Lord in Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is what the answer is. And this is answered in the 7th chapter of the first canto. So the next, so this is the one, Krishna Swadham Upagate. When Krishna left this universe and went back to his home, right? So religious principles also are gone with him. So where should one take shelter? So at the same time, here we see Srimad Bhagavatam descending. And one should take in the instructions of the shelter in the instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the instructions given by Sri Vyasadeva himself. So why I'm saying Vyasadeva, this discussion is going on between Shaunaka Rishi and Suta Goswami. However, Sri Vyasadeva wrote this as a literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, I'm saying Vyasadeva. So this is the second set of questions that when they heard this answer to the first set of questions, there were three personalities that came into existence. One was Vyasadeva. So they asked question about Vyasadeva, and the other name they heard was Parikshit Maharaj. So they asked question about Parikshit Maharaj's birth, activities, and renunciation. And they also heard about Sukadeva Goswami. So they asked this question regarding Sukadeva Goswami. So then that was answered. And then in the 13th chapter, we see that Dhritarashtra quit. Suddenly the topic changed and it came to Dhritarashtra quits home. Vidura, before the war, he was insulted. And this we are going to see it today. He was insulted and he left his kingdom. He was insulted by Duryodhana. So he left his kingdom and he went for a pilgrimage. So while doing the pilgrimage, after some times he comes back. So why does Vidura comes back? He comes back to help his brother and his wife. His brother was Dhritarashtra, his elder brother. This is Vidura, and this is Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. So he came to save Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. And now we see in the chapter, the description is he explains them the futility of life. He was using very strong words. And ultimately, he convinced his brother and his wife, and they left the kingdom. So this is chapter number 13. And then there is a third set of questions. And this set of question is about the details about Maharaj Parikshit. How Maharaj Parikshit punishes Kali, right? Describe all the incident related to that topic. And then how he ruled throughout the world. So this was the third set of questions, and it was answered very nicely by Suta Goswami to the sages. Right? And then comes the fourth set of questions, which is just before the 19th chapter. Right? And towards the end of the 19th chapter, this fourth set of questions is asked. So this begins with the canto 2. So what was the fourth set of questions? So questions asked towards the end of Canto 1, Chapter 19. So questions asked by Maharaj Parikshit. So Maharaj Parikshit was cursed to die in 7 days. And before leaving the body from this material world, he wanted to understand, what should I really do? So at the time, by Krishna's will, all the sages, you see so many sages, including Narad Muni, Vyasdev, everyone actually came. So at that time, Sukadeva Goswami also appears. Mm. So when Sukadeva Goswami appears, everybody wants to hear from him. Mm. So they instructed him to hear from Sukadeva Goswami. Hence, this sage is, along with Parikshit Maharaj, is sitting in this assembly and they are asking question to Sukadeva Goswami. So the question that was asked, the fourth set of questions, which was this one, which I showed here. So these questions are here. O saint of the Guru, show the ways of perfection for all persons, and especially for one who is about to die. What one should do before death? How can one attain perfection um, before death? And also, please let me know what one should hear, what one should chant, what one should remember and worship, and also what one should not do. So immediately, Sukadeva Goswami started answering this question in the second canto. So he said that though there are two kinds of people, one is Grihastha, other is Grihamedi. So Grihamedi is a person who is only interested in material life. His life is centered around matter and enjoying the matter. So one should not do that. Like, also, what one should not do. One should not waste their life like that. Right? And what is the perfection for all people? So he's saying Ante Narayana Smriti. If one can remember Krishna at the time of death, that is the perfection of his life. There is no better thing than that. But in order to achieve that perfection, one has to go through practice, or one has to develop attachment for Krishna. And that doesn't happen automatically. One has to be cultivating attachment. Right? And how to cultivate attachment? So Krishna, right in the beginning of the bhakti sections of Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita, has 18 chapters. So first 6 chapters talks about karma leading to bhakti, or karma yoga leading to bhakti. Second set of chapters, which is 7 to 12, is purely bhakti yoga. And the last 6 chapters is jnana leading to bhakti. So karma leading to bhakti, and then second set, which is 7 to 12, is bhakti yoga. Specifically, Krishna describes about himself in details. So in that section, right, the very first verse, 7.1, Krishna explains how to develop attachment for him. Essentially, he's saying, if you want to develop attachment from him, it begins with the process of hearing. He's saying you begin with the process of hearing. So when you hear about Krishna, then all your doubts, you know more about him. Right? And all your doubts about Krishna gets gradually clear. And then Krishna is saying that then you do engage in the process of yoga. Yogam yunjam madashraya. By the process of yoga, you take shelter of me. You practice the yoga process. So there are basically 3 yoga processes, actually 4 yoga processes. One is called as karma yoga, then jnana yoga, then ashtanga yoga, and then finally bhakti yoga. However, in order to get liberated or go to the spiritual world, only 3 yogas can help you getting out of the cycle of birth and death. And that is jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, or bhakti yoga. Karma yoga has 2 steps. The step number 1 is purification of heart. This is the step number 1. And once the heart is purified, then you can engage in Jnana Yoga. So only these 3, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, only these 3 methods are there for the purpose of liberation. Jnana Yoga can lead you to the impersonal liberation, and Ashtanga Yoga can also lead you to the impersonal liberation, as well as it can lead you if the Ashtanga Yoga devotee comes in contact with the devotees of Krishna, then they can get a personal liberation. Bhakti Yoga, whereas, the goal of Bhakti Yoga itself is taking shelter of Krishna, and the liberation is either in Vaikuntha or in Goloka planet. So this is what actually in detail is explained by Srila Sukadeva Goswami in the chapter 2, chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. So in the middle of, I think this is in the very in the first chapter of Canto 2, he is asking further questions, right? That how is the dharana accomplished? Dharana of somebody who is an attached yogi, how is that accomplished? And what is a bona fide dharanashraya, means object of meditation for the yogi. So we discussed this point in detail many times, that there are two kinds of yogi. One is attached yogi, other is detached yogi. So attached yogi, he is object of meditation. What should he meditate upon? Or object of meditation is Virat Rupa, like of a neophyte yogi. So neophyte over here means he is attached. He is not detached. And somebody who is detached. Detached from what? Detached from the enjoyments in the material world. Yeah. So somebody who is detached, then they can actually focus on Paramatma, and that way they get liberation. So this is this chapter number 2, or actually chapter number 2 is Lord in the Heart. That is about the Paramatma. And then he's talking about bhakti itself, the process of bhakti. So like this, he answers. So this is a fifth set of questions. And then later on is the sixth set of questions where Maharaj Parikshit is inquiring Sukadeva Goswami further. Oh, learned soul, we are eager to hear so please continue the Hari Katha, and you discuss whatever you like the best. Right? We are eager to hear. So they are showing their eagerness to hear Krishna Katha. So further, the questions is about the creation and the maintenance. Creation, maintenance, and destruction. How the Lord creates, how he maintains, and how he destroys. So this is the seventh set of questions. And then Sukadeva Goswami starts answering the seventh set of questions. First, he actually glorifies the Supreme Lord. He offers prayers because so far he has not offered the prayers. So first he offers the prayer. Sukadeva Goswami, before answering these questions, the seventh set of questions, how the creation, maintenance, and all this happens. So before answering all these questions, he offers a prayer. And there are beautiful set of prayers. And after offering the prayer, then he started describing how the creation, maintenance, and annihilation happens by Karunadaksha Vishnu, and that is chapter number 5. Right? How that happens is discussed in chapter number 5. And then there is there is many questions actually asked by while this discussion was going on, that how actually Karunadaksha Vishnu creates, maintains, and destroys. All these things happens in the seventh set of questions. And then in so this is again going to the questions which was the asked by okay. So what happens is when Sukadeva Goswami is answering the questions, he said that I am going to answer these questions by talking about the Brahma Narada Samvad. So what is Brahma Narada Samvad? Brahma Narada Samvad is Brahmaji is being asked question by Narada Muni, that I see you creating everything. So are you the Supreme Lord? That was his question. If not, then actually, who is creating it, right? And he is asking, Narad Muni is asking this question, that what is the characteristics of the universe? Like, what is the characteristics of the universe? how to take shelter, right? Or what is the shelter, how it is created, how it is conserved, and what it's dependent on, and what are the ingredients or what it is composed of. So these questions were asked by Narad Muni. These questions were asked by Narad Muni to Brahmaji. However, Sukadev Goswami, while answering the questions of Maharaj Parikshit, he is saying that I'm going to go to that discussion, and whatever discussion happened, I'm going to answer on the basis of that. So that's where is this eighth set of question coming. So then chapter number 5 goes into details of how the creation happens. Now this chapter is very important because this is the most authentic, our Acharya says, including Srila Sridhar Swami, um, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and other commentators, Vaishnava commentators, Gaudiya Vaishnava commentators. They say that this description of chapter 5 is this sequence one must remember. This is the how it actually taken, because this will be discussed many times. The process of creation will be discussed many times, but sometimes the sequence is changed. So what our acharyas are saying, that this is the correct sequence. This is whatever sequence is discussed here. This is how it really happens. Right. Now, today we are going to see that Maitreya Rishi is also discussing this, but it is not in an exact sequence. He's just giving the way highlights of what's happening. So we discussed this chapter 5 in lot of details actually. So we also took some of the portions which was discussed in Canto 3, from Canto 3, chapter 5. Right. So we also discussed about there are different causes, right? Understanding that there is a material cause, which in Sanskrit is known as Upadan Karan. And then there is a effective cause. So effective cause is a potter. Suppose a potter is making the clay. If we take the example of a potter making a clay. So the potter has to be existing, who is making the clay, the pot. And then there has to be purpose of making the pot. That purpose is called as hetu. Hetu or purpose. So Aristotle, he also took this probably from our Vedic science. And he discusses that there are 4 different causes. One is the matter, right? One is the matter or the ingredient. So that is known as Upadan Karan or material cause. So like in the case of the potter, the clay and the water is Upadan Karan. Right? Then you need the potter himself to make the pot. So that is the potter is the effective cause. Right? And here he is called as agent. He's calling that as agent. Then the potter may make different kinds of pot, or if somebody is making a table or a chair, they can make different shapes. Right? Also, he's giving the name as form. Right? So he's adding one thing, which is formal cause. So here we have taken the example of a table. Formal cause would be different shapes of the table. Like some table can be circular, some square, some rectangular, some triangle, like that. And the final, why that table has been prepared, right, or made. So that is the final cause, because that's where the person is using it for. What is the purpose of making that thing? So in the Nyaya Shastra, we also have this karana or causes. So further chapters of Canto 2 describes that um, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is the material cause of the universe. So this Virat Rupa is discussed multiple times. Right? Virat Rupa or universal form is discussed multiple times, in actually 3 times in Canto 2. So each time the description has a different purpose. So first time when it was discussed, the purpose of that Virat Rupa was it's an object of meditation for a neophyte yogi. So Virat Rupa is object of meditation for a neophyte yogi. And then second time when it was discussed, it indicates that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is the material cause of the universe. He is the material cause. All the matter directly comes from him. So that is how it is discussed in chapter number 6 onwards. And because this discussion, if you remember, was going on between whom? Between Brahmaji and Narada. So when this discussion happened, Brahmaji was so excited to describe all these things that Brahmaji, Narada's question, he answered all the questions in chapter number 5 and 6. But he continued to describe the Leela avatars of the Lord. Right? So the Leela avatar is discussed in chapter number 7. And then again, Maharaj Parikshit asked, this is the ninth set of questions. He's asking again the questions. And these are so many questions he's asking in the ninth. So if you see, these are all the set of questions in the ninth set. So he asked questions about the Lord and the Jivas. So these are different categories of questions. Then he asked question about the Kala and the Karma. And then 15 to 23, he has some other questions, which is miscellaneous questions. So he asks so many questions. And the rest of the Bhagavatam mostly is answer to this question. So in order to answer this, Sukadeva Goswami begins with the life of Brahmaji, how Brahmaji appeared in this world. And then after Brahmaji's appearance, described, then Brahmaji offered prayers to the Supreme Lord. And those prayers and were discussed. And then Brahmaji also asked for his blessing, because Brahmaji is going to, so here is Lord Vishnu, and Brahmaji is offering first of all prayers, and he's asking for blessings. The purpose of asking for blessing is because he's going to perform a service of creation, secondary creation. And when he is doing this creation, actually he will be engaged in the three modes of material nature, especially the mode of passion. Right? So when he will encounter, how will he get protected? So he is asking for his protection. So, and he's asking this question that, please tell me about your material and spiritual form. Please tell me about your energies. How uh, how are your various spiritual and material energies working, right? So first is, please tell me about your form, material and spiritual form. Then tell me about your energies. Then tell me about your activities. And then please bestow your mercy for my execution of your instruction without pride and bondage. Because when you come, or when one comes in contact with the modes of nature, there is an effect on that person.
देखो ना
There is
तुम
a.
कर रहे हो तो अपना खाने को देखो
So please mute yourself. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So basically it affects us somehow or other. So when it affects us, um, that results into pride and attachment. So bondage over here means attachment. So he is offering prayer. So please protect me from this. So then Krishna, or Lord Vishnu, Krishna in the form of Lord Vishnu, he says that now I will speak about Jnanam, the most secret knowledge of my form. So that he speaks in the CS over here means Chaturshloki 1. Right? Aham evasam evagre. Right? That's the first verse. So Lord answers the question by speaking the Chaturshloka. And then the first Chaturshloka is talking about Jnanam, and then second is Vijnana. he along with jnana, he is going to give him vijnana, the realization of that particular form, right? How that form acts, right, in this world. So he is going to give them Brahmaji the vijnana also. And then he is going to explain him Sarahasyam, means he is going to explain the prema, the most important aspect of it, which is the prema bhakti, which is explained in the Chatushloki 3. And then how to attain that prema through the process of sadhana bhakti. So tad angam. So these are the four things that sadhana, by practicing sadhana, one can attain prema. And then actually one can get the realization of that particular form. And then the Lord say, by my mercy, may you attain perfect realization of the details about my form, qualities and pastime. So by Lord's mercy, one can get this. And Lord directly tells this to Brahmaji. And so these are the four Chatushloki. Chatushloki 1, the Lord says, before the creation, right, I was in the spiritual world, and after the annihilation, all the world actually eventually comes into me, right? So before the creation, after the annihilation, I am the Lord of the Vaikuntha. And as far as the creation is also concerned, I am actually maintaining various things as a super soul. So Lord has a role during creation, maintenance, as well as during the annihilation. Then he talks about that how your various energies are working, spiritual and material energies are working, right? So he's saying whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. So basically he's saying that everything is governed under my energy. Maya adhyakshena pakriti suyatesha characharam. That is given in Bhagavad Gita, right? So, but if somebody sees that without relation to me, that is my illusory energy. That is Maya. That has no reality. And then he says that, I am within each and every element. The Lord activities in relation to these active energies. I myself exist within every created. At the same time, I am outside of everything. So I am within all the living entity as well as I am outside all the living entity. This is a vision of a prema bhakta. You can see Lord everywhere. And then how to attain it? By the process of bhakti. Chatusloki 4. One who is searching for me for the absolute truth must perform sadhana bhakti, which is determined as the best process. So only by the process of bhakti one can overcome bondage, pride, and lethargy. The three things one can overcome only by the process, engaging in oneself in the process of bhakti. So these are the Chatushloki. And then the ninth chapter talks about the 10 subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, Manvantara, Uti, Ishanukatha, Nirodha Mukti, and Ashraya. So, and then the purpose of the third time the Virat Rupa is explained in Canto 2. So this time it is discussed in a way to show that how our desire shapes our subtle body, right? It shapes our next gross body. So the desire what we have will help us to get our next body. Okay? So this is what is explained in the third time. And then there is another set of questions. Now this set of questions are changing. So Sonaka Rishi is now asking Suta Goswami, "Oh Suta, you have told us that Vidura." So now, if you see, we are connecting with the 13th chapter of Canto 1. You have told us that Vidura, the best of the devotees, went on pilgrimage around the world, giving up friends who are difficult to give up. So, discussion of the soul took place between Vidura and Maitreya. They knew that, because Vidura, when he went, he left Hastinapur and he went for a pilgrimage. He left his kingdom. So after that, what did he do? So we know that he met Maitreya Rishi, and there was a discussion between Maitreya Rishi and Vidura. So please tell us all about that, Vidura's action. So Canto 3 and Canto 4 is all discussion between Maitreya Rishi and Vidura. So this is how the Canto 3 begins. So here we see the first 5 verses in chapter number 1 of Canto 3 is discussing about Vidura's renunciation and Maharaj Parikshit's inquisitiveness. So again, Suta Goswami doesn't directly answer the questions, because here the question was asked to whom? Sonaka Rishi is asking question. Here Sonaka Rishi is asking question to Suta Goswami. However, Suta Goswami was present when the discussion between Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadev Goswami happened. So he is going to he is going to think about what he has heard from Sukadev Goswami, and then he is going to answer accordingly. So incidentally, Parikshit Maharaj also asked this question. But, yeah. So Parikshit Maharaj also asked this question to Sukadev Goswami. So therefore, Suta Goswami is going to narrate to Sonaka Rishi, citing that discussion, right? So here is Sukadev Goswami, considering that question of Parishit were previously asked by Vidura to Maitreya, started narrating the event leading to the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. So Sukadev Goswami says that previously Vidura, after giving up his prosperous house for entering the forest, asked this question to the powerful Maitreya Rishi from 2.8 onwards. So here we see that Duryodhana actually insulting Vidura, and he was just left with his breath. You say, you get out, you are not suitable to stay in Hastinapur. So he left the place. Right? And in this discussion, we know that, the Pandavas' house was considered by Lord Krishna as his own house. Right? And he could come at any time to the home of Pandavas, because Pandavas were also living there. Right? They can be, they were living in Hastinapur. So Krishna used to come, and he used to frequently visit. So the question is that, Vidura also had opportunity to meet Krishna. So how could he leave the place? How could he leave the place and just go to jungle? So all these questions are being asked, right? So here the 12th set of question is asked. Maharaj Parikshit asked, kindly describe where and when the discussion between Vidura and Maitreya took place. And he knows that Vidura is a very saintly person, Amal Atmanaha, and the discussion must be very, very important. So please explain that, what discussion happened between them. The discussion must be very important, it must be very significant, and it must be highly purposeful, and also approved by the learned circle or praised by Maitreya himself. So please narrate that discussion in details. So as we said that, Duryodhana actually insulted Vidura, and Vidura was struck by the sharp words of Duryodhana, and he left his brother's place. His brother is Dhritarashtra. He left his place and he went to the jungle. He didn't participate in the war. So he went to different places, right? He went to Matsya, he went to Surat, right? He went to currently Surat, right? He went to Prabhasa, he went to Sauvira, he went to Kuru Jangala, and he also went to Vrindavan at the end. So he started from Indraprastha, and he also went to Indraprastha actually. So he started from Hastinapur, which is near Indraprastha, and then he he wandered around. He wandered around different places. Passing through various provinces, Vidura finally reached the bank of Yamuna, where he met Uddhava in Vrindavan. So he went to various places during when on the other side the war of the war was happening. So he went to various places and he was hearing Krishna Katha all the way. All these things are discussed. But finally he reaches to Vrindavan, and there and the bank of uh, Yamuna, he actually meets Uddhava. So Vidura affectionately embraced Uddhava. He is a disciple of Brihaspati and friend of Lord Krishna, and inquired as follows. So this is a sequence of events that is leading Vidura's meeting with Uddhava. We have discussed this in the past. I just kept it as a reference, and you can look at it whenever you get chance. So, so his question was, please glorify the merciful Lord. So this is Vidura, who was elderly in age, and Uddhava was young compared to Vidura. So he said that please glorify the Lord. He is compassionately appeared in the family of the Yadus to show mercy to the surrender rulers. Therefore, please chant the glories of the Lord, who is glorified in the holy places. Um, I bathed in almost all holy places. Now, please bathe me in the holiest place, which is Lord Krishna. So he wanted to hear about Lord Krishna. What did Krishna do before leaving this world? He wanted to hear this. So basically, his question is about inquiries about the welfare of the Yadus and the Kurus. So in the second chapter, when this question was asked, when this question was asked to Uddhava, Uddhava went into trance. You see over here, he went into trance. Now, last 3 weeks we were discussing about the prana and chitta, isn't it? If you remember. So in the last session, in the prana and chitta, we discussed about the higher stages, right? From the stages of bhava and prema onwards, right? Then there is raga, mana, pranaya, and all those stages, anuraga, and then finally mahabhava, right? So we discussed all these stages in detail, what happens in these stages, and this is one of the aesthetic symbols. Now you can relate. And if you forget, I will share. I might have already shared the PowerPoints. So please read that, and so you can understand really what is happening with Uddhava. So Uddhava remained silent for a muhurta. Right here we see he remained silent for a muhurta, which is 48 minutes. His devotional ecstasy appeared increasing as he became submerged in the sweetness of Krishna's lotus feet. Krishnangri Sudhaya. So Krishna's lotus feet in separation. He was in separation. However, in his heart, he was with Krishna. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in the commentary explains about, how he is with Krishna he is actually meditating upon, and through his internal meditation, he was with Krishna. And then Krishna actually tapped him and said, now get up. Vidura is waiting for you. So he started smiling, right? So Uddhava soon came back to human plane, external consciousness from the Lord's abode. So the point over here is within this body, right? Um, within this body also one can directly experience Krishna through his chitta. The Samvit and Ladini Shakti, which is the part of the Swarup Shakti, I will again discuss it today in more details, um, which is part of the Swarup Shakti. Um, that actually, when this chitta is purified, one can directly experience in the stages of bhava and prema. One can directly experience Lord, right? Nama, Rupa. Nam, of course, is chanting the name, but Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela, everything one can experience in person within this body. That is, there are two types of bodies, Sadhaka Deha and Siddha Deha, right? So, uh, I think it's in the color. Sadhaka Deha and Siddha Deha. So in the sadhaka, there is the practice, one who is practicing sadhana. So that body is the sadhaka deva, body which we see. Siddha Deva is a one who has purified the heart, purified the chitta completely. In the purified chitta, one can directly experience Krishna. So if we go through the stages, and if I open, so this is the PowerPoint which we discussed, the prana and chitta. So here, right? So when we begin our journey, we start with the Namaparad stage, right? We start here with the Namaparad stage. So we are practicing japa and everything, practicing bhakti. However, at the same time, we are committing offenses. We are committing offenses. Why? Because of carelessness, right? Carelessness, because we don't have complete sambandha gyan. We don't have sambandha gyan. And that sambandha gyan, because of the lack of sambandha gyan, we commit offenses. We are not afraid of committing offenses. So if offenses are avoided, it is not completely gone. Let's say offenses are avoided to certain extent. Right? Then we move, or if we are careful about not committing the nama aparads, like nama aparad, seva aparad, dhama aparad, there are different kinds of aparads. We discussed those in Madhurya Kadambini. So when we avoid those offenses, then we go to the next stage. So here basically we are crossing the stage of anartha nivritti. So if offenses are avoided, so this is practices anartha nivritti. So when we cross this stage of anartha nivritti, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti, right? These are the stages. When we cross anartha nivritti to certain extent, then what happens is we go to the next stage. And the next stage begins with Nishta. And in Nishta, in the stage of Nishta, we can start seeing the form, the reflection of the abhas or reflection. Therefore, this name is Nama Abhas. Nama Abhas means the reflection. So we see the reflection, like, we have a mirror. In the mirror, we see reflection of somebody from side. So that kind of darshan we start getting in our chitta. And that is the namabhas stage. In the nishta stage, we see the rupa or the form of the Lord. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls this as rupa yukta nama. You're chanting, at the same time you are seeing the Lord in your heart, the reflection of the Lord in your heart. That is rupa yukta nama. And in the stage of ruchi, then you see the qualities as well as the rupa. So guna yukta nama. Here in the beginning it is aparada yukta nama. We are chanting, but we are chanting along with the aparads. So this is aparada yukta nama, and then you see the rupa or the form of the Lord, and then you experience the guna or the qualities of the Lord. So that is guna rupa nama. And then the final is Leela Yukta, which is at the stage of Ashakti. You start seeing the Leela. But however, all this is Abhas. Right. So from here, this stage, we directly go to the Chaya Abhas stage. Chaya Namabhas. Right. So from there, then one goes to, once this stage is crossed, once Ashakti we stage cross the stage of Asakti, then our chanting progresses from Namabhas to Suddhanam. In Suddhanam, there are two stages, Bhavanam and Premanam. Yeah. So these are the two stages of Suddhanam. Right? So here you start seeing, you start getting actual darshan of the Lord. And in the stages of prema, after that, you start experiencing the rasa. So these are the stages through which we progress in our devotional life. The point being made over here is Uddhava is in the stage of prema, actually prema or higher. So he could directly experience Lord in his heart. So Uddhava comes back to the human plane, the external consciousness from the Lord's abode. So he went to the Lord's abode, and then he in a very pleasing mood, he spoke to Vidura. So he explains that how actually Krishna, the sun, so Krishna Dhyumani has set, and the house has been swallowed by the snake of time. What to speak of welfare? Because he was asking about the welfare of the Yadus. So he says Krishna's sun is set. Yeah, Krishna has left this material. So how can I speak about our welfare? There is no welfare. He is the welfare. Hare Krishna. Mm. Yeah, Hare Krishna, please mute yourself. Yeah, thank you. So the Lord appeared by his internal potency in his external form, which is just suitable for human pastime, that astonishes even the Lord Vishnu himself. Thus, this form is the ornament of all ornaments. Whatever form the Lord came in is the topmost form, right? Mm. So he talks about that, and then he talks about certain pastimes in Braja from verse 25 to 34, and how Krishna uh, was, he went to Mathura, Vrindavan. So out of fear of Krishna, Vasudev brought Krishna to Vrindavan, where the Lord stayed with Baladev. So this is actually his birth pastime, from Mathura to Vrindavan. So this is the birth pastimes of Krishna. So he narrates certain pastimes, that how Krishna appeared in this world, and then he talks about the pastimes in Braja. So I'm just not covering it because we have already discussed all this. I'm just giving you a highlight. Then he explains first he goes from Mathura to Vrindavan, and then he performs pastimes in the Vrindavan along with his friends and the gopis. And then he talks about the Rasa Leela with the gopis, which is the pinnacle of all the pastime. And then is chapter 3. Then he talks about Krishna's pastime outside of Vrindavan. So this is all discussed in summary, like killing of Kamsa, and then killing of other demons, like Sambara, Dveda, Bana, Mura, Balvala, and so on. And then he talks about the Lord engaged, or the Lord arranged, not engaged, Lord arranged for the killing of those strong kings whose armies made the earth tremble in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So he brought everyone together in Kurukshetra and he killed all of them together. And then Lord performed this Moshala Leela, where the Lord planned and predicted the disappearance of the Yadus. So this was all actually planned by Lord Krishna himself, where the Yadus will come together and then they will fight among each other and they can kill each other, because they were the devatas themselves. Like the portion of the Yadus, so there are two portions of Yadus here. One is the Krishna's associate, and part of them were the devatas. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this. So the Devata portion fought among each other. However, the Yadus, who are eternal associates of Krishna in the Dwarka, they actually remained in Dwarka and they went from Prakata Leela to Aprakata Leela. They went from Prakat Leela to Aprakat Leela. So they started participating. When the devotees, when they do this kind of transition, actually the devotees, they don't understand themselves. It is for the external world. They don't understand themselves that they are now entering into Aprakat Leela. But for the world, they enter into Aprakat Leela. So Yadus had two parts. One is the eternal associates. So Yadus, one portion of the Yadus were the eternal associate of Krishna, and the second part were the Devatas. So the Devata portion of the Yadus, they fought among each other and they left this world. Whereas the eternal associates of Krishna, they entered into Aprakat Leela. They entered into the Aprakat Leela. So this is how Lord planned. So then the Lord established Maharaj Yudhishthir as to be the king, and then he discussed about how Krishna protected his pastimes in Dwarka. He was how he protected Maharaj Parikshit in the womb of Uttara from the weapon of Aswathama. So how this Lord planned all this, however, how that began? So that began with the sage's curse. Once the princes of the Yadus and the Bhojas dynasty made a great sage angry with their joking. So you know this pastime. And again, these are the events that are leading. So first time that event had a less number of details. Now this has more details of how that happened. So these are the events leading to Krishna's departure and then Vidura meeting with Uddhava. Okay. So then the Vishnus go to the Prabhas Kshetra, right? And then they fought among each other and then they kill each other, right? So after that, chapter 4 begins with Vidura approaches Maitreya. So this is again continuing the disappearance of the Yadus. So Krishna meets, so before leaving this world, Krishna actually meets Uddhava. And then, he discusses something with Uddhava. And here we can see Maitreya Rishi is also hearing this. And this is Lord Krishna showing his four-handed form. And he discusses some topics of bhakti along with Uddhava. So what was that discussion? Vidura is interested in knowing that what the Lord discussed with you, right? So this is what is the whole chapter about. Hearing from the Lord about Uddhava started. So after this, so he said that, that Lord instructed him to go to Badrik ashram and give his association, because Lord Krishna thought that Uddhava is the best person to give association to the sages in Badrik ashram. So he requested him to go to Badrik ashram and give his association. So because Vidura was asking him question, he said, I have a duty to perform. I need to go to Badrik ashram and give my association to the devotees over there. And they are waiting for me. So when I discussion between Uddhava and Lord Krishna happened, at that time Uddhava says that Maitreya Rishi was also present. And he's saying that actually Krishna was talking out of respect. He's saying that because Maitreya Rishi was elder to Uddhava. So he say out of respect, he's saying that Maitreya Rishi was there, and actually Krishna was talking to Maitreya Rishi, and I was just happened to be there. Right? That is not true actually. Our Acharya says that's not true. Maitreya Rishi heard the conversation, but he understood. Um, he understood the message what was given by Lord Krishna to Uddhava. So he was equally competent to narrate what Vidura was seeking to understand.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु।
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mata.
प्रभु कुछ ऐसा ध्यान आ रहा है कि पहले ऐसा डिस्कशन था कि व्हेन कृष्णा वाज टॉकिंग टू उद्धवा मैत्रेय ऋषि वाज नॉट देयर, इज दैट ट्रू?
No, Maitreya Rishi was always there.
बट उद्धवा को जो उद्धव गीता बोली थी दैट वाज इन द पैलेस, द्वारका पैलेस, इजंट इट?
Yes, that was in the Dwarka. That is not here. So if you see here, Uddhav Gita was spoken. Okay. So let me see. Yeah, here.
So this is दूसरा conversation
This is
other
the
than the
second.
Uddhava Gita?
Yes, this is second conversation.
अच्छा, okay. And that was before leaving, before Krishna was disappearing, before that, right? And by
Yes,
that time, Yadu dynasty was already disappeared. Is that correct?
correct. It is correct. Yeah.
Oh,
So Uddhava
okay.
Gita was, so here I have written, see, Uddhava Gita was spoken at Dwarka.
प्रभु आपका स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं हो रहा है अभी, राइट? मैंने थोड़ी ना कुछ
No,
किया,
no, sorry.
मैंने कुछ किया?
You have to come here.
ओह सॉरी प्रभु, मेरी तरफ से था, सॉरी।
So here, if I say, you can best
फिर
view
गायब
on
हो जाती है।
laptop. I mean, if you are sitting in a laptop, that's the best way to view. तो आपको पूरा दिखेगा.
वो मैं उसको जूम इन करती हूँ प्रभु, फोन पे हूँ तो वो गायब हो जाता
हाँ. Yes. No, you
है। थैंक
can.
यू।
Okay, so this was spoken. This is the second conversation. So basically, when I expressed, yeah, he's saying that hearing from the Lord, Uddhava started from. So yeah, so then after that, actually, Uddhava actually starts from Badrikashram, and this is the continuation of that. It started from. But here, still the discussion between them are going on, between Vidura and Uddhava is going on. But finally, he tells that the Lord, and then actually in Badrikashram, Uddhava meets Naranarayan Rishi and the sages. He also meets them over there. So next is, I'm not trying to go into details because we have covered all these things. Right. So finally over here we see that Uddhava actually departs for Narayana. So I think there is some sequence wise. I'm not going to go into details. So sequence wise here and there, but yeah, we should not focus on that right now. Okay, so Maharaj Parikshit has, this is a 13th set of question. Why did Uddhava remain alone on this planet after disappearance of the Lord and his associate? Parikshit Maharaj is asking question. Lord Krishna desired to disappear from the earth after dispatching his excessively numerous family members in the plea of the curse of the sages. And then Krishna thought the only qualified person was Uddhava. He is the foremost of my devotees and is only one who can be entrusted with the knowledge about me. So you see why Lord wanted. So the question of Maharaj Parikshit is, why did Uddhava remain alone? Everybody left. Why did he remain alone, and why he was given task to go to Badrikashram? So Krishna, before leaving, he thought that Uddhava is just as me. Okay? He is equally qualified as me. So I can entrust the knowledge about me to Uddhava. He is saying that Uddhava is not inferior to me in any ways because he is never affected by Maya. That is the specific qualification and of the representative of the Lord. Therefore, he may remain here to decimate the specific knowledge about to the sages in Badrikashram. Therefore, Uddhava followed the instructions of the Lord and reached Badrik Ashram and worshipped the Lord in trance. So Uddhava, as we know, is in a prema stage. So he could experience the Lord. I mean, there is a separation, external separation. However, he could experience the Lord in his heart anytime. He's always connected. Earlier also we saw that, he was with the Lord. He went into trance and he was with the Lord himself. So that way, the devotees, who are very advanced, they really don't want to go back to Godhead because they can experience Krishna's love right over here. Going back to Godhead is the secondary effect. So Vidura is the overwhelmed, is because at the time of living, he was saying Uddhava said to Vidura that, Lord Krishna was remembering you before he left this world. So why? So this is the reason Vidura was overwhelmed. Understanding that he was remembered by Lord Krishna, Vidura began to cry loudly, overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love. And then actually Vidura goes to Haridwar. So he is traveling to Haridwar, we can see over here. And then in chapter number 5, which we are going to start today, Vidura meets Maitreya Rishi. So Vidura, who had perfected his devotional service, approached Maitreya Rishi at Haridwar and inquired from him as follows. And so this is a 14th set of questions. Now, we see over here that, Vidura is asking many questions. However, these questions, sometimes we feel that, they are very so simple. He may be knowing the answer to this. Still, he is asking it. The reason our acharyas give is Vidura didn't want to embrace. So Vidura is meeting Maitreya for the first time. So he doesn't know all the details about him. So he doesn't want to embrace him. Put him in a position that he doesn't know the answer. So he thought within himself, so let me ask some simple questions, and if Maitreya Rishi knows more, then he will actually reveal from himself. Right? I mean, if he has the knowledge of certain things which I don't have, he will reveal by himself. So let me not ask him tough questions. Though we see that Vidura traveled a lot to ask the question, but his goal was, see, this is a very finer qualities of Vaishnavas. As we advance in our spiritual practice, these finer qualities that develop within us, where we don't want to hurt other people's feeling and all those things, right? So this is one which is revealed by Vidura himself. So the question which he is asking is how to mitigate distress in this world. Everyone is engaged in fruitive activities, karma, for happiness, but they find neither happiness nor satiation nor detachment, right? Meaning everyone is looking for happiness. However, they don't attain happiness. They experience dukkha in this life. Still, they are not, though they are experiencing dukkha, still they are not detached from looking for happiness. They are attached to looking for happiness all the time. So why is that? That's the reason he's asking this question. Rather, they increase their suffering. So please, therefore, give us direction on how to live for real happiness. So this is the first question. Then he's saying that great philanthropic souls travel on the earth on behalf of the Lord, Janardana, to show compassion to fallen souls who are averse to the sense of subordination to the Lord and are thus suffering. So great soul actually travel to give message about the Lord. And then he's saying, give me instruction on the transcendental devotional service of the Lord so that the Paramatma is pleased to impart knowledge of absolute truth as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan from within. So give me instructions about transcendental bhakti to the Lord or service to the Lord, so that the Lord within the heart is pleased, and then from within the heart he actually reveals himself. Then he asks about the Purusha avatars, right? How the Lord is a Purusha avatar, the three Purusha avatars, and then how this Purusha avatars or incarnation creates, maintains this world. Then he asks about describe the Karunadaksha Vishnu, who is sleeping in the Viraja river or Karana ocean, and how the one Lord explains into many forms during the time of creation. So basically, these are question about creation. Then he asks about the Lila avatar of the Lord. Then he asks about the planets, how the Lord creates different planets along with their rulers. The living entities are situated in different modes. So all these questions about creation, the living entities, and all these questions are being asked over here. So being devoid. So here from this 10th verse to 16th verse onwards, Vidura is saying that I have heard from my father, who is Vyasdev, I have heard Mahabharat many times. And the topics of Mahabharat is Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So I am not interested in Dharma, Artha, the topics of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Those lesser topics. I am not interested in hearing those lesser topics because I have heard these plentiful times. I've heard many times. But so what I am interested is, I am exclusively interested in Krishna Katha. So this 10 to 16 is Vidura saying to Maitri Rishi that I am exclusively interested in Krishna Katha. Please don't discuss about the topics of Mahabharata, which is Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, and all these topics. So then he continues, who in the human society can be fully satisfied with hearing the talks of Lord? I mean, basically, it's a rhetorical question. Nobody will be satisfied. The more we hear Krishna Katha, the more we want to hear. Who is worshipped by the great devotees? So this the talks about the Supreme Lord who is worshipped by the great devotees. Such topics can cut off one's bondage simply by entering the holes of one's ear. So when we hear Krishna Katha, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayajita Janayati Asu Vairagya Jnanam Cha Yat Ahetukam. So when Krishna Katha, when we engage in the service of hearing Krishna Katha, automatic detachment and knowledge, these two things automatically happen. Then he's saying that your friend Vyasdev. So here this is Maitreya Rishi and this is Vidura. So Vidura is saying your friend Vyasdev has described Mahabharata to attract the mass of people to Krishna Katha, right, through Bhagavad Gita, through material topics. So he's saying that how Vyasdev wrote this Mahabharata. And the purpose of writing this Mahabharata was to attract people to read through those material topics and then finally bring them to Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of the Mahabharata. And then he says Krishna Katha increases indifference to all others. Things such as remembrance of his lotus feet vanquishes all miseries without delay. So then he says that sinful and ignorant person, materialist, who are averse to Krishna Katha are pitied by the pitiable impersonalist. I, which is pure devotee, pity both of them. Right? So the impersonalists, they pity on the sinful and ignorant people, and I pity both of them because their lives are spoiled in rituals and speculation. Then he says, please describe the essence of all topics, O friend of the distressed. Harikatha alone can do good for all. Like a bee collect honey from flowers, kindly choose and describes the essence of all topics for our welfare. So he's requesting And then he's saying, please describe the Purusha avatars first, starting with Purusha avatars. So Maitreya Rishi, he could not decide because there were so many different types of question asked. So Maitreya Rishi could not decide where to start answering the question. So Vidura is giving him, because he could read his mind, he's saying, please describe the Purusha avatars first. So when Maitreya Rishi heard these questions from Vidura, so this is Maitreya Rishi and this is Vidura. He is Maitreya Rishi, he is Vidura. So when Maitreya Rishi heard, he was honored. Right? So he's saying Maitreya Rishi greatly honored Vidura, and then he spoke for the welfare of all. So he says that by your glorious queries, you showed mercy both to me and this world, because your queries are so nice. It is not only going to purify me further, like, Sukadeva Goswami also says this to Maharaj Parikshit, that the questions of Maharaj Parikshit are so great. The answers are definitely excellent. However, the question itself is so great. So similarly over here, Maitri Rishi is glorifying the question itself. By your glorious inquiries, you showed mercy both to me and this world. Right? Because the answer to these questions will help people in general. As your mind is absorbed in transcendence, it is not astonishing. So in the glorification, again, he's saying it is not astonishing for you to ask such question, because you are basically son of Vyasdev, right? And you are also Yamaraj. In your last life, you are a Yamaraj. So it is not astonishing because you are being born from Vyasdev. You accepted the Lord without deviation. I know that you were Yamaraj, who were now Vidura due to the cursing of Mandavya Muni. So there's a pastime how Vidura was basically cursed by Mandavya Muni. Vidura, who was actually Yamaraj, was cursed by Mandavya Muni. However, it was a blessings to Vidura, because Vidura could participate in Krishna's pastime. You are the Lord's eternal associate, and for your sake, the Lord left instruction with me before departing. Right? So this is also the same thing which Uddhava says, that before the Lord leaving, he kept some instruction for Vidura, and he was remembering Vidura. So now we are going to start with verse number 22. Now we are going to discuss everything in detail from verse 22 onwards. So, okay. Verse 22 to 38 is Maitreya Rishi explains the process of creation. So again, this process of creation will be discussed. However, it is a very short description over here. It's not in great details. But here you see, first he will discuss the Purusha avatars, which is engaged in the process of creation, maintenance, and destruction. Right? So you can chant with me if you would like. Atate Bhagavad-lila Yoga Maya Urubhamrita Vishwastiti Ubhava Anta Artha Varnayami Anu Purvasaha. So he says that Srila Prabhupada translates. So again, I'll just give you the structure because we are beginning after a long time. So here is in the notes, you will see right in the beginning, the general description of the verse. Right? Now, this description of the verse is taken from Subodhini. So Subodhini is an amazing summary. So I just do a copy paste and it gives us the summary of the verse, what is described in this verse, right? So this first section is the piece of information from the how the verse is, the flow of the verse from the Subodhini. And then we read Srila Prabhupada's purport. So this is Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport. And then we also have Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. And most of the time, Srila Prabhupada, he puts in his purports the message also given by the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And if it's a separate commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami, then I will add Srila Jiva Goswami also over here. But for now, if it is similar, then I don't add those. So we are looking into three commentaries. One is Srila Prabhupada's purport. Second is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. And then Srila Jiva Goswami's Krama Sandarbha. So these three books will be referring. So here, Srila Prabhupada writes, I shall therefore describe to you the pastimes by which the personality of Godhead extends his transcendental potency for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic world as they occur one after another. So he'll describe the pastimes of the Purusha incarnation for creation, maintenance, and destruction of this world. So here the word in the verse is Yoga Maya. Now, we will go into details of this. Actually, Yoga Maya is not engaged in the purpose, or if you see word by word, Yoga Maya, energy of the Lord. So, Yoga Maya is not engaged in the purpose of creation. However, over here it is written as Yoga Maya. So, we'll try to understand why it is written as Yoga Maya. Okay. So, Srila Prabhupada talks about different Shaktis of the Lord. Okay. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, the creation of the cosmic world is done by his Yogamaya energy. However, it is in fact not done by the Yogamaya energy. It is done by the Mahamaya energy. So we need to understand the different energies of the Lord. This is again explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary also. So there are different Shaktis of the Lord. Right? So we are going to see this or try to go quickly over the different energies of the Lord. And I have a presentation on that. And this presentation will also help you to go into the details of this Visuddha Sattva. And we'll understand this. So if you see different energies of the Lord, that's the same picture which I put over there. Krishna has various kinds of energy. Yeah. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, it says Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta, Kshetra Sektagya Tata Appara, Avidya Karma Samgyanya, Tritiya Shakti Ishyate. So what this indicates that Krishna has different energies. One is Para Shakti, other is Apara. So Para is the spiritual energy and Apara is material energy, which is inferior in nature. The spiritual energy, which is Para, is superior in nature. Why this is inferior in nature? Because this material energy lacks in consciousness. There is no consciousness for this material energy. Now that material energy also has a different term. It is also known by the term Bahiranga Shakti. Bahiranga Shakti. So again, this Para is divided into two. One is Antaranga, other is Tatastha. So there is Tatastha is the marginal energy of the Lord, which is consisting of this Jiva or soul, or us really. And the Antaranga is again divided into three, which is Sandhini, Samvit, and Ladini. Three potencies of the Lord, right? So this is the overall structure, and it is called by different names. Like for example, the Antaranga or internal energy is also called as Atma Maya or Yoga Maya, right? Or it is also called as Visuddha Sattva or Vasudev. So the reference to this is verse here. Sattvam Visuddham Vasudeva Sabditam. Right? So Sattvam, so Visuddha Sattvam, Visuddha Sattva is also known as Vasudev. Right? So what is Visuddha Sattva? We are going to see in details. So this Visuddha Sattva, the pure Antakarana is called Vasudev. Now you know what is Antakarana. We discussed in the Prana and Chitta section that there are 4 parts to the Antakarana. So Antakarana has Chitta, has 4 parts: Mana, Buddhi, 3 Ahankar, and 4 Chitta. So Chitta is like a storehouse, right? Where it's like a memory where everything is stored. Ahankar is identification with that Chitta. Right? Solidified Chitta is Ahankar, that identification which we generally do. And Buddhi is the intelligence, and then Manas is where our emotions are processed, right? So these are the, this is Antakarana. So what is this verse saying? The pure Antakarana, when Antakarana is purified. What does it mean when Antakarana is purified? Basically, it means that the Chitta is purified, or heart is purified. When the Chitta is purified, in the pure state, it is called as Vasudeva. Right? Or it is Visuddha Sattva. So Sattvam Visuddham, right? Sattvam Visuddham or Visuddha Sattva is also known as Vasudeva. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 4.3.23. Right? This is the internal energy. It is in the purified state. Okay? And that is divided into 3: Sandhini, Samvit, and Ladini. So let's go into details. So Visuddha Sattva is completely pure, or Visuddha means completely pure, uncontaminated. Sattva means existence, right? Or it is purity, elimination, and spiritual substance. So this is basically Visuddha Sattva. The completely pure spiritual energy of the Lord that manifests divine consciousness and pure devotion is free from all material influence. That is, when one attains that state, free of all material influence, this is the state of Visuddha Sattva. Now, there are 3 states. One is darkness, which is ignorance, and then there is a passion, and then there is a Sattva. So this is material Sattva or material goodness. Now, material goodness also has some qualities. It eliminates locally but remains limited. It is artificial and part of material realm. This Sattva can come in contact with Rajas, and it can be overpowered by Rajas. So this can happen to material Sattva. However, Visuddha Sattva is pure devotion. It's a pure Sattva. It's infinite, it's natural, it's pure spiritual existence. It shines like a sun. So next is in the paradox of goodness. So in the material Sattva, so this is talking about the material goodness, means Sattva Guna. The Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, right? So of that, the Sattva Gun govern. So all the 3 gunas are actually governing this universe. Out of all the 3, one is superior to all the 3. This is Sattva, Tamas, and Rajas. But of these 3, one is superior. And that superior is a Sattva Gun. But it is a trap because material Sattva brings clarity, knowledge, morality, and peacefulness. However, it is a golden cage. It still binds the soul in the material world through subtle attachment and happiness and knowledge. So basically, it is also binding. This is not liberating. This is material goodness. Right? However, spiritual goodness or Visuddha Sattva is actually Lord's internal energy. It is coming from the Swarup Shakti. As we saw earlier, it is coming from the Swarup Shakti of the Supreme Lord. Right? It is a higher energy. It is directly coming, it's para. It's coming from the Supreme Lord Himself. And it is part of the Antaranga Shakti. So this is because it is directly in association with the Lord. It is much superior to the material goodness which is over here. Here there are again three good. So the mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. Right? So this is goodness in the material realm. However, this is completely different. Here it is in the spiritual realm altogether. So this particular thing says that Visuddha Sattva is completely transcendental. It's a spiritual potency. Right? This is material Sattva is it's one of the modes of nature. Right? Now the origin belongs to Lord's internal energy, which is Swarup Shakti. Right? It is completely free from Rajas and Tamas, full of spiritual bliss and knowledge. Right? So this actually liberates the soul. This Suddha Sattva or Vishuddha Sattva or Vasudev Sattva, this actually liberates the soul. However, the material goodness actually binds the soul through the attachment. Yeah. So these are some differences between the material and the spiritual Sattva. So as we saw that the Lord has three different Shaktis. One is Swarup Shakti, right, or internal potency. Other is Jiva Shakti, which is Tatastha Shakti. And third is the Maya Shakti, which is external, Bahiranga Shakti. And the Visuddha Sattva belongs exclusively to the Swarup Shakti of the Lord. So in the spiritual realm, everything is governed by these three Shakti. The entire spiritual world, when we see the spiritual world, it is the existence of the spiritual world, which is the existential potency, is Sandhini. This is like here in this material world, everything is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, right? This whole thing is made up of the 24 elements. However, the spiritual world is made up of the things which we see in the spiritual world is made up of the existential potency. So this is or Sandhini potency. Existential potency is the Sandhini potency of the Lord. And then this is the Samvit is the knowledge potency. And Ladini is the bliss potency. So all these three work together in the spiritual realm. And all these three things are Visuddha Sattva. The combination of all these three is Visuddha Sattva. Here we see that. So again, going to the one-page diagram, we see that the Sat, Chit, and Ananda, or Sandhini is Sat. This is existential potency. Right? And then Chit is the knowledge potency. And Ladini is the Ananda potency or the bliss. And Srimati Radharani is the embodiment of this particular potency, which is Ananda. Srimati Radharani is the Ladini Shakti Murti. The Ladini potency is controlled by her. Or Ananda or bliss, the pleasure potency of the Lord, is controlled by her. Krishna, as well as the Jiva, gets their transcendental bliss through this potency, which is controlled by Srimati Radharani. Similarly, Bhakti and Prema is the Sladini Swarupa. Is basically, it is the Swarupa of Ladini Shakti. And by this Ladini potency, one experiences the pure love of Godhead. Right? Whereas in the material world, we experience the adulterated love of Godhead, or love of God. And this is controlled by Mahamaya. And Yoga Maya or Atma Maya controls this. If you have any question, please unmute and ask, okay? Because I am assuming you understanding all these things. These are going to be very important in our further discussion. So that time I'm not going to, because I assume that they will understand all these things, okay? So the Sandhini potency, as we say, is existential potency. And in the spiritual world, the Goloka realm itself, the bodies of the devotees, liberated devotees, the spiritual form residing in the Vaikuntha, the transcendental body of Krishna, this is all made up of the existential potency, which is Sandhini potency. Now we saw in this discussion, which we did on Prana and Chitta, we discussed this point that in the Bhava stage, when somebody reaches the stage of Bhava, this is a definition of Bhava. Suddha Sattva Visheshatma Prema Suryansu Samya Bhak. The pure devotional emotions, right, arises from Visuddha Sattva. Now we saw that Visuddha Sattva has three things, right? If you remember, Visuddha Sattva has three things. What are the three things? Sambit is coming from Sandhini Shakti, Samvit Shakti, and Ladini Shakti. So Sandhini is existential potency. Means it gives the forms in the spiritual realm. Now that doesn't descend. So what descend as Visuddha Sattva is this Samvit Shakti and the Ladini Shakti.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु।
Yes, mother.
प्रभु एक क्वेश्चन है जो मुझे समझ नहीं आता।
Mhm.
ये अपन कहते हैं कि स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड में सब कुछ जो भी एग्जिस्ट करता है वो संधिनी शक्ति के थ्रू एग्जिस्ट करता है, राइट?
Mhm.
फिर अपन ये भी कहते हैं कि लॉर्ड बलरामा है, ही बिकम्स द बेड, ही बिकम्स एवरीथिंग फॉर कृष्णा, जो भी कृष्णा को चाहिए होता है। तो
Yeah.
इज इट संधिनी शक्ति और इज इट
Yes,
लॉर्ड
yes.
बलरामा?
No, Sandhini Shakti.
तो फिर लॉर्ड बलरामा इज नॉट संधिनी शक्ति?
He manifests that, yeah.
लॉर्ड बलरामा मैनिफेस्ट संधिनी शक्ति?
No. He manifests. He is empowered to this Shakti. He It's part of Krishna's Swarup Shakti. So he empowers Balramji also because he want to serve, right? He want to serve Krishna in various different ways. So Lord Balram expands himself through that existential potency. He becomes his bed, he becomes his cloth, he becomes his ornaments, right? Even the mridanga which we play, these are all Balaram. Right? We say Balram mridanga, if you remember. So this is this existential potency. So that Lord Balram is manifesting. So Lord Krishna is manifesting through Lord Balram. Like originally this Ladini Shakti, right? So we just studied this. Ladini Shakti is manifested through whom? From Srimati Radharani, right? So similarly, the existential potency in this case is manifested through Lord Balram.
Okay, Prabhu. Got it.
Got
Thank
it?
you.
Mhm.
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay. So in the Bhava stage, as we say that, what descend? Suddha Sattva, Vishesatma. So Suddha Sattva or the Vishuddha Sattva or Vishuddha Sattva and Suddha Sattva over here is same thing. Or Vasudev.
अरे प्रभु एक और क्वेश्चन है
Hmm?
प्रभु भक्ति रसामृत में तो वो दिया हुआ है ना मुझे इन दोनों वर्ड्स का डिफरेंस नहीं पता जिसमें अव्यर्थ कालत्वम जिसमें भावा के सिम्टम्स बताए हुए हैं पता नहीं 19 है या कितने हैं
Here.
अव्यर्थ कालत्वम तो ये
Here
दिस इज द
again.
डेफिनेशन ऑफ भावा राइट दिस इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ भावा
No, this is the, I am showing you the picture.
ओके
You see the picture?
यस प्रभु
Yeah, these are 9 symptoms of bhava.
अच्छा तो ये सिम्टम्स हैं बट
हाँ.
भावा होता क्या है वो आप पहले डेफिनेशन में बता रहे थे वो
हाँ.
विशुद्ध सत्वा वाला
Yes.
पर भावा के लिए तो वो भी कहते हैं ना कि राइजिंग ऑफ द सन से पहले जो डॉन होती है दैट इज भावा इज दिस द सेम वर्स
Yeah. Prema Suryam Susamya Bhak.
दिस इज द वर्स दिस इज द सेम
Yeah,
वर्स
that works.
अच्छा ओके मुझे नहीं पता था ओके थैंक यू
Prema, ray of sun, Surya Amsu, Surya Amsa, right? Prema, which is the complete sun, but Amsa of Surya is like a ray of sun, right? That is descends, right? So pure devotional emotions arise from Visuddha Sattva like a ray of the sun of divine love. So bhakti itself is not a human invention, right? It is a direct manifestation of the exact spiritual potency. So the spiritual, we don't have to invent bhava stage. Bhava stage will be given to us. When our heart is purified, the bhava will descend. When we say bhava will descend, what will descend? So the two shaktis, which is samvit, sorry. So Suddha Sattva has, sorry, Sattva has three things, right? Sandhini, Samvit, and Ladini. So when we say that the pure emotion arises in the heart of the devotee, or Suddha Sattva arises in the heart of a devotee, or basically Bhava arises in the heart of a devotee, it means that the Samvit and Ladini Sakti of the Supreme Lord, or the internal potency, that descends into the heart of the devotee, not the Sandhini, because Sandhini is existential potency. Right? So Samvit is knowledge, and Ladini means bliss. So this descends into the heart of a devotee at the stage of bhava. So how does this bhava manifest? So one engages in sadhana bhakti, and then in the sadhana bhakti, there is purification of heart. Gradually the heart is cleansed from material conditioning, from rajas and tamas. So this is called as anartha nivritti. This is the stage of anartha nivritti, and that after the anartha nivritti happens, then the descent, the Lord's internal potency, which is Vishuddha Sattva, which we discussed over here, is Samvit and Ladini. These two actively enters into the purified heart of the person. So purified heart over here means chitta. And then that triggers the bhava, and then the divine emotion and love of God begins to manifest. Right? So here the key thing is bhava is not produced by human mind. So artificially you cannot produce bhava. Bhava is not produced by the human mind. It descends directly from the Lord's internal energy. Right? So this is to be remembered. And then there are symptoms in the heart of a, what are the symptoms of heart? In the heart of a devotee is a deep humility, basically absence of material ego and pride, intense attraction, which cannot be disturbed, right? Constant remembrance, then detachment, right? And spiritual experiencing, internal joy. Because in the television of their purified chitta, they are in connection with Krishna. As soon as they start chanting or engaging in devotional service, immediately Krishna appears in their heart, independent of external circumstances. Right? And these are some specific symptoms. These are explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Some specific symptoms like Shanti, Avyartha Kalatvam, Virakti, right? Manasunyata, Asha Bandha, Samutkanta, Namagana Sadaruchi, Ashaktitad, Gunakhyana, and Pritistad, Vasatistad. So these are some external symptoms. So basically, Visuddha Sattva is Sattva which is beyond this material Sattva. And it is not from this world. It is directly coming from spiritual world. And it is part of Krishna's Swarup Shakti. It is part of Krishna's Swarup Shakti. And that can manifest in this world by experience by a devotee when it descends in the form of basically Samvit and Ladini. So this is some understanding of Vishuddha Sattva. So these are about different energies of the Lord. And then there is one more topic which I want to discuss over here, which is because we are talking about Yoga Maya, right? So this Yoga Maya over here, now if you remember in Bhagavad Gita, so there are two words. One is, now Srila Rupa Goswami discusses this in details in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. So there are two words, and I'm sure you know about this, is Amshi and Amsa. Right. So Amsa means the incarnation or the part, right? And Amshi is the source. So this is the source. Right. Or this is the cause, and then this is the effect. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15, Sarvasya cha aham vriddhi sannivishto. I'm sure you remember that verse. Right. Sarvasya cha aham vriddhi sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarve lahameva vidyo vedanta krit veda videcha aham. Right. So Krishna is saying, I am seated in everyone's heart. Right. Now my question to you, is Krishna sitting in everyone's heart? Yes or no? Right. What is your answer? Krishna is saying over
Yes.
there. Huh?
Yes, that's right.
Right, right. But is Krishna as Vasudev Krishna sitting in everyone's heart? Or Paramatma is sitting?
Paramatma.
Paramatma.
Right? Yes, Paramatma. But Krishna over here is saying, I am sitting in everyone. Right? So Krishna is the Amshi or the source, but his portion, which is Amsha, is sitting in everyone's heart as Paramatma. So similarly, we can see in many other verses like that, where Krishna is saying that I did this, I did that, I am the knower of this. However, actually Krishna is not, if you see, two-handed form of Krishna is not sitting in everyone's heart. It is a Paramatma form which is sitting in everyone's heart. So similarly, over here, if we see that Yogamaya, the source of Mahamaya is Yogamaya. So Yogamaya, when here Yogamaya word is used, actually the creation Yogamaya is not engaged. The word Yogamaya is not engaged in the purpose of creation. It is Mahamaya who is doing creation. We just saw Krishna's energies, right? Different energy. Therefore, I kept him. So Mahamaya is engaged in the service of creation in the material world. However, the term which is used is Yogamaya. So Prabhupada also writes like this. And it makes sense, like the same thing, it makes sense that Krishna is saying, I am sitting in everyone's heart. Therefore, I kept this example. Like Krishna is sitting in everyone's heart. Right? Maya Adhyaksha, of course, he is saying under my direction. In that particular verse, he is not saying I do it, but he is saying under my direction. Right? And then he is saying Aham evasa evagre. Like I was existing before the creation and in the middle of the creation. But actually his expansions are doing those things. Still Krishna is saying that, I do that. Because Amshi, everything is working under the direction of Amsi. Amsas are working in sync with the Amsi. So therefore Krishna can say that. And similarly over here, the Yogamaya, the Mahamaya is working under the direction of, or it's an expansion of Yogamaya. And this is what is explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary over here. So, a special aspect of the Lord Swarup Shakti Yogamaya, right? It is explained in Narad Pancharatra that Maya, means Mahamaya, arises as a portion of Yogamaya. Is it clear now? So, Yogamaya is the Amshi, Mahamaya is the Amsha. So, therefore, Yogamaya word is not inappropriate in this particular verse. Right? Okay, so now we would like to also discuss. Actually, it's 8:58, and this will take me some time to discuss. So words have different meanings, right? And I'll not go into details because I'll start next class with this Shabda Vrittis. So this is going to help us deepening our understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam. So there are three different types of vrittis or meanings of the word. Right? One is called as Abhida Vritti, other is called as Lakshana Vritti, third is called as Vyanjana Vritti. And we are going to go into details of how, in short, there is three ways all the language which we write or what we hear can be understood with either with its direct meaning, or sometimes it's called, as Lord Chaitanya explains, that as Mukhya Vritti. Right. So this is Abhida Vritti or Mukhya Vritti. Right. And then he explained that word has direct meaning, or if the direct meaning doesn't work, then we have to understand it through its metaphorical meaning or indicated meaning. So that is called as Lakshana Vritti. So Mukhya Vritti is the direct meaning, the direct meaning of a particular word which we hear. So we are going to go into details of this in the next session. We'll start with that there are three kinds of vritti. And among this thing, Abhida Vritti also, again, there are levels. Like Abhida Vritti is divided into two, Lakshana Vritti is divided into, again, three. No, Lakshana Vritti is divided into, yes, three. And Vyanjana Vritti is divided into four. So like that, we'll try to understand when we read something, it can have direct meaning or it can have indirect meaning, and how to understand. So similarly, when we read Bhagavatam, some words are direct. Like for example, over here, if we read Yogamaya, then it will not make sense, isn't it? When I read it as Yogamaya, it doesn't make any sense. Direct meaning doesn't make any sense. So then we have to go for in this verse. So this Yogamaya is used in this verse. The direct meaning doesn't make any sense. So then we have to go for the indirect meaning. And when we go for the indirect meaning, what to consider, what not to consider. So this is what we are going to understand in this topic of Shrabda Vritti. Okay. So with this, I will stop here. And we'll continue from verse 23 onwards from next class. Any questions, any comments, any discussion?
Prabhu, I have this all Bhagavatam at my home. If I open that book and go through the cantos, can I see all this what you are showing in your PPT?
No, you will not, because in that we only have Srila Prabhupada's explanation, whereas I'm taking from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purports. Right? So I'm going to various different literature and trying to bring it to um, the
Compile everything.
together, yeah. So that
Okay.
their understanding actually depends. So Prabhupada, helps us to understand. However, when we read Prabhupada's purport, and then we read Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's purport, and then again go back to Prabhupada's purport, it is there in Prabhupada's purport. But it is sometimes very clear and sometimes it's not very clear. But when we read other purports and again come back to the purports of Srila Prabhupada, then it makes totally sense why Srila Prabhupada is saying this. So therefore, Prabhupada actually himself, he wanted us to go and study the commentaries of other acharyas to deepen our knowledge and relish. The reason for deepening the knowledge is relishing Srimad. Ultimately, we want to relish Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not, okay, today I have read like 5 or 10 verses of Bhagavatam. But have we understand? So that's one level, that is starting level, that it's good that we start there and read Srimad Bhagavatam every day. However, there are the same verse has different meaning in depth. The meaning changes as the acharyas brings in so many different points. So then we can appreciate that same verse in different ways. In that way, then we actually relish Srimad Bhagavatam.
So you have more than one Bhagavatam, like whatever we have from Srila Prabhupada. Beside that, there are other Bhagavatam where you're getting this all references from.
Yes. So
Oh,
I have Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's. Of course, there is the original commentator of Srimad Bhagavatam was Srila Sridhar Swami. Right. So Srila Sridhar Swami is considered as Lord Chaitanya is saying Sridhar Swami Guru Karimani, means he is according to Lord Chaitanya, he is the best commentator of, and he is the guru of even Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya considered him as his guru. So his commentaries are also there. However, I don't know, it's there in Sanskrit. There is no English translation available, so I don't know much. I can't read unless it is written somewhere that Srila Sridhar Swami says this. But devotees who knows how to read Sanskrit, then they can relish his version also. So Srila Sridhar Swami. So there are actually many different versions. Like there are so many commentaries. However, we being Gaudiya Vaishnava, because we are following our lineage, right? So for us, the purports given by, or the commentaries given by Srila Sridhar Swami or Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, right? And then the Sandarbhas given by Srila Jiva Goswamis. These are of utmost importance to us. So we should at least read those versions given by the three acharyas. Yeah.
okay.
And then
Thank you,
there are
Prabhu.
other acharyas also there who have given their commentary. Yeah, including Vallabhacharya and others. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is Sandeep.
Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhu, we are going to read verse by verse from this 5.22 onwards going
Yes,
forward.
yes.
Okay. So any pointers on, like, should we be preparing something before the next class or some reading we should do, Prabhu?
Yeah, it is because I share my notes. So, like for example, I prepared these notes. I always share after the class, I share all the notes. It is best if you can read. Now I'm not going to go into every lines of all the acharyas. My goal will be to complete about 15 verses in one class. So it will be best if you can read the um, the purport, right? At least before the class for the previous. Like for example, we did 22, but next time we'll start with 22 and complete maybe up to 40 or something like that. So what you should do, this is my suggestion to everyone who is attending regularly, that the notes and everything are there with you. So you just have to read, like for example, you have to read the purports of Srila Prabhupada, try to read the purport of Srila Prabhupada, try to read the purport um, of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. In the class, I am going to discuss only what is highlighted now. Like, for example, this part is highlighted, right? So I am going to discuss in the class only that much. The rest of the purports, I have read it. Right? While preparing, I have to read it. So I have read it, but I expect all of you to read on your own. That way you will be able to relish, and also you will have questions, and then we can discuss those questions. So very good question, Prabhu. I wanted to tell, I forgot, however, but you asked it.
Okay, Prabhu.
So
Yeah,
I'm going
thank
to
you,
share
Prabhu.
all the notes, and then you go through the notes. Also, if you have questions, like, if I'm putting why I'm putting Samvit and Ladini, these arrows are put for the reason that, in the Bhava stage, these two descends. In the in the Bhava stage, so like that. And then I put like this Visuddha Sattva. So I'm going to another slide to discuss this. Next, I'm going to go to another slide and discuss this part, like Shabda Vrittis. So all these things I'm going to share, and you can read, and that way, you have some idea. It won't take more than 20 minutes or 15 minutes to read everything, because now you have some idea of what's discussed in the class.
Okay, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you.
प्रभु मेरे को एक क्वेश्चन है
Yes.
प्रभु ये अभी अपन जब आपने शुरू किया तो फिर आपने कहा वो विदुरा मैत्रेय कि भी ये क्वेश्चंस हैं, योर क्वेश्चंस आर ग्लोरियस, टेल मी अबाउट पुरुष अवतारास एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स. मुझे ये समझ नहीं आया कि व्हाट इज द कनेक्शन ऑफ दिस थिंग with Vishuddha Sapta and Haladini and all those three potencies. उसका reference क्या है प्रभु? मतलब what is the connection there?
This one, because he's talking about Krishna's energies, different Shaktis of the Lord. So I just expanded. Oh, sorry. I'm not sharing my screen. Okay. So I discussed this different Shaktis of the Lord, because here Prabhupada in the purport is talking about different Shaktis of the Lord.
Okay. Okay, Prabhu. Okay. Thank
And
you.
this is a very common topic in general, Prabhupada repeats these energies of this. Krishna is energetic and Krishna has energies. So everything Krishna functions in this world through his energies, right? So we need to have a basic understanding that what these energies are. Right? So he has like two types of energies. One is spiritual energy, another is marginal energy or inferior energy. And then another is marginal energies. So this spiritual or internal energy is again divided into three. Similarly, this marginal is tatastha, is the soul, and then Bahiranga Shakti is this. And then I put the word Visuddha Sattva over here. And to explain where this Visuddha Sattva word came, it's from the reference is this verse 4.3.23. In the another diagram which I showed is expansion. I just put the verse over here instead of just giving the reference, because then you have understanding what is really Visuddha Sattva. And then how that Visuddha Sattva descends in our life. Because Visuddha Sattva is the internal energy or Swarup Shakti of the part of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord, right? How that comes in my life. So therefore we went into details to explain, okay, this comes into my life at the stage of Bhava. It descends into me, that Shakti. And actually we studied in details that it captures all the parts of the body. Right? And when it captures all the parts of the body, it shows some external manifestation, like, shaking of the body, or somebody is getting, perspiring, or those kind of symptoms are shown.
सो प्रभु भावा में संवित हलादिनी आते हैं, तो ये संधिनी क्यों नहीं आती हैं? संधिनी कब आती हैं फिर?
संधिनी आएगी नहीं ना, बिकॉज संधिनी इज द एग्जिस्टेंशियल पोटेंसी. वो स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड में जो भी एग्जिस्ट होता है, दैट इज थ्रू संधिनी पोटेंसी. दैट इज नॉट नीडेड इन दिस वर्ल्ड, राइट? We are in the material world as of now. So we don't need Sandhini potency. So what descend is Samvit and Ladini. Why these two descends? Because the Samvit will give you knowledge about Krishna, who Krishna is. Now we are looking for Krishna, right? When we are chanting, we are looking for Krishna. Right? But as we progress in our bhakti, we'll try to figure out who this person is. How does he look? We are chanting his name, but how does he look? So that knowledge-giving potency, Krishna, through that Samvit potency, he reveals himself. Okay, I look like this. Here it is seen, right? This is the knowledge potency. Through the Samvit, Krishna knows about himself and everyone. And the living entity can know about Krishna. So the knowledge is required. This potency is required to give the spiritual knowledge about Krishna. Along with that, it's not just knowledge, but now you want to. So with the knowledge you have, there is some theoretical knowledge which we have gained through by reading Bhagavatam and other literatures. Now that knowledge has to become realization. So unless we see Krishna in person, we will not be. This is like, for example, we are learning how to drive a car. So for a month or so, we read the books, how to drive a car, and we read all the rules and regulations. Then we give exams. Now, theoretically, we know how to drive the car. But then we have to go to a driving school to learn actually how to really drive the car and sit on the driving seat and, change gears. Of course, here there is gearless car. But, follow all the rules which we have studied in theory. So now, when the Bhava, the Samvit and Ladini potency descends into our life, it gives a knowledge of it. It gives experience about Krishna in person. Krishna is saying, okay, I am this person. I look like this. This is my features. And that gives us some kind of ananda or bliss. So that two potency has to descend. However, Visuddha Sattva is all the three. But these only two descends.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you so much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
जय
Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
Parikshit Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Rupadev Goswami ki jai. Ananta Koti
Jai.
ki jai. Gaur-
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
हरे
Prabhu.
कृष्ण
Hare Krishna.
मामा
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण मामा दंडवत प्रणाम थैंक यू
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Dandavat pranam Prabhu.
Just give me 1 second. I'll just stop the live. And
Sure.
then okay. So Mataji, why can't you join the same meeting maybe?